The architect of my own prison didn't use bricks and mortar. He used tiny, comfortable habits, each one a thread so light I never felt its weight, until they were woven together into a cage of my own making. My name is Leo, and for the better part of 3 decades, I lived inside that cage believing it was the entire world. My life was a muted, grayscale routine. I'd wake up tired, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that no amount of coffee could penetrate. My nights were a blurry cascade of glowing screens, scrolling through lives I didn't live, and watching shows I wouldn't remember, a cheap substitute for the sleep my brain was screaming for. This chronic sleep deprivation became my normal, a dull fog that clouded my memory and blunted my decisions. At work, I was known as reliable, but what that really meant was that I was good at following instructions. Give me a checklist, a step-by-step guide, and I would execute it flawlessly. But the moment reality deviated from the plan, I would freeze. My mind, unpracticed in the art of adaptation, would simply shut down. I was a robot with a broken sensor, unable to navigate an unexpected obstacle. My social life was just as programmed. I was terrified of silence, of being alone with the static in my own head. So I filled every spare moment with noise and people. But our conversations were hollow. We'd talk about the weather, the game last night, the latest celebrity gossip, anything to avoid the terrifying depths of ideas or introspection. I was a master of small talk, a defense mechanism that kept my curiosity locked away. I had opinions, of course, loud ones, on subjects I knew almost nothing about. I'd speak with the unshakable confidence of an expert. It was a classic case of a mountain of confidence built upon a molehill of knowledge. A desperate attempt to mask the profound insecurity that I wasn't smart enough to have a real, nuanced discussion. I clung to trends like a life raft, my clothes, my hobbies, even my phrases, all copied from a popular template, to feel a sense of belonging I couldn't generate on my own. My world was small, rigid, and safe, and I mistook its predictability for intelligence. The first crack in my prison wall appeared on a Tuesday. We were launching a major project at work, one I had spent months on, meticulously following the blueprint laid out by my director. But on launch day, a competitor released a similar product with a feature we hadn't anticipated. Our plan was instantly obsolete. My team looked to me for guidance. "What's our pivot, Leo?" My colleague, Sarah, asked, her eyes wide with urgency. I just stared at the screen. The instructions had ended. There was no page in the manual for this. My mind was a blank wall. While others frantically brainstormed, I offered nothing. I was useless. Later that day, my director, a kind but direct woman named Mrs. Anya, called me into her office. She didn't yell. She did something far worse. She looked at me with a sort of gentle disappointment and said, "Leo, I need people who can think, not just do. The map is not the territory." Her words echoed in my head all night. For the first time, I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't pick up my phone. I just sat in the quiet darkness of my apartment, and I let the silence do its work. It was terrifying. The static I had been running from roared to life. All my insecurities, my intellectual laziness, my fear of being found out, they all came flooding in. I saw my habits for what they were, not just quirks, but the very tools I had used to build my cage. My reliance on superstition, the lucky socks I wore for big meetings, the way I'd read into coincidences as signs, was just a way to avoid taking responsibility. My instant rejection of new software at work wasn't a sign of wisdom, but of a deep-seated fear of being incompetent. My endless hours playing the same video game, never improving, never learning from my mistakes, was a perfect metaphor for my life, repeating the same patterns, expecting a different result. I was addicted to the easy dopamine hit of instant gratification, and it had killed my ability to endure the struggle that precedes all meaningful growth. That night, I decided to become a prison breaker. It started small. The next day, I left my phone in my desk drawer for the entire morning. The urge to check it was a physical itch, a craving. But I resisted. I focused on a single task, and for the first time in years, I felt my attention span stretch and hold. At lunch, I saw Sarah sitting alone, reading a book on behavioral economics. Normally, I would have avoided her, intimidated by the depth of her interests. Today, I sat down. I asked her about the book. My first few questions were clumsy, but I forced myself to do something I hadn't done in years. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't just nod along while planning what I would say next. I absorbed her words, and a tiny, dormant spark of curiosity flickered within me. The journey was excruciatingly slow. I began to treat my brain not as a fixed object, but as a muscle that had atrophied from disuse. I started going to bed an hour earlier, reclaiming my sleep from the clutches of the blue light. The first few days, the mental fog was even thicker as my body adjusted, but then slowly it began to lift. Colors seemed brighter. Thoughts became clearer. I found that with more rest, I had more willpower to resist the easy path. I started tackling things that required effort. Instead of blindly following a recipe, I tried to understand the chemistry of cooking. Instead of just playing a game, I watched tutorials, analyzed my failures, and focused on improving a single skill. It was hard. My brain, so accustomed to quick fixes, screamed in protest. I began to embrace solitude. I'd take long walks without headphones, allowing my mind to wander. At first, it was a chaotic mess of anxieties. But gradually, I learned to guide my thoughts, to reflect on my day, to untangle complex problems, to simply be with myself. I discovered that within the silence I had so feared lay the space for genuine creativity and self-awareness. I also confronted my own rigid thinking. When a new idea was proposed at work, my gut reaction was still a cynical, that will never work. But now I had a new rule. I had to genuinely try to understand it from the proposer's point of view before I was allowed to critique it. More often than not, I found value where I previously would have only seen a threat to my comfort zone. I stopped falling for the easy, dramatic narratives of conspiracy theories and started asking for evidence. The world became more complex, but also more fascinating. My transformation wasn't a sudden, cinematic event. It was a quiet, grinding process of replacing one tiny habit with another. It was choosing the book over the endless scroll. It was choosing a difficult conversation about ideas over easy, small talk. It was choosing the discomfort of learning over the false confidence of ignorance. It was choosing to listen more than I spoke. About a year after my initial failure, a situation similar to the one that broke me arose. A key supplier for a new product unexpectedly went bankrupt, weeks before our launch. The old Leo would have frozen, paralyzed by the collapse of the plan. But this time something different happened. The news hit, and instead of panic, I felt a strange sense of calm. The map was gone, but now I knew how to read the territory. I gathered my team, and we didn't just look for a replacement supplier. We asked deeper questions. Could we re-engineer the component? Could we partner with another department? I listened to every idea, even the ones that seemed outlandish. My mind, now more rested, curious and flexible, saw pathways where it once saw dead ends. We devised a new, innovative solution that not only saved the project, but made it better. That evening, Mrs. Anya found me at my desk. She didn't say much. She just put a hand on my shoulder and said, "That's the kind of thinking that changes things, Leo. Welcome back." I hadn't come back from anywhere. I had simply arrived for the first time. The cage I had lived in was never locked. The door had always been open. I just needed to stop feeding the habits that kept me convinced I was trapped. My brain wasn't broken or limited. It was just untrained. And I learned that the most powerful tool we possess is the ability to choose day after day the small habits that break us down or the ones that build us up, one tiny, deliberate action at a time. The architect of your mind is you, and you can start building a masterpiece today.